Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happen every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Carolyn. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at WomensSportsWeeklyPod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Send us an email at WomensSportsWeeklyPod@gmail.com, and we may feature your email on the Listener Experience Zone, the Les.
We have Run Club again this week and every week on Thursdays at 6 p.m. We meet at the 99ers Sports Bar. I haven't been at Run Club in so long, so I am personally thrilled to be back this week. As you know, each week we have a secret word, and if you listen to our podcast and tell the secret word to the bartenders after our run, you will get 50% off your first draft. This week, the word is ice cream because we're going to do something a little different. We're going to start at the 99ers Sports Bar like we always do at 6 p.m. We will run our 3 miles, and we will actually end at Lick's Ice Cream, get some ice cream, and then walk it back to the 99ers. I don't know. Ice cream and then a beer sounds really good to me.
To be very honest, every time Run Club comes around, every Thursday, I do not want to go.
Because you hate to run.
Exactly. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I get there and I see everyone, and we are creating such a great community at Run Club. And I'm like, okay, this is so nice. I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I have this opportunity to do this. And now with ice cream on top of it, maybe I'll actually be excited to go to Run Club this week.
Ooh. And I might make an ice cream beer float.
Ooh.
I don't know. We'll see.
The 99ers has that watermelon sour. It might be a good combo.
Ooh, I'm excited. So hope to see you there. We're excited again this Thursday.
You had another weekend where you were traveling. Do you want to tell us about it? Because you have not been home. You do not live here anymore.
I really feel like I just don't live in Denver anymore. But I was sad you couldn't come. And I know you were sad too, because I grew up with Lindsay, went to high school with her, and you have become close with Lindsay over the years. Lindsay is one of my best friends, and she got married this past weekend in New Hampshire. So traveled up to New Hampshire to celebrate Lindsay and Calvin. It was such a beautiful venue. They just were so happy. So it was really nice to celebrate them both. It was nice to see friends from high school. It was nice to see people from high school who I probably haven't seen since high school. Really throwing it back. The thing I loved the most about the weekend, though, was just seeing how happy Lindsay and Calvin were. And it was just really nice to be a part of. And I was very happy to be there. New Hampshire was another cool place to visit.
Lindsay has been a day one supporter of Women's Sports Weekly.
For sure.
I love her not only because she supports Women's Sports Weekly, but for tons of other reasons. And yeah, I was bummed not to be there with you to celebrate her and Calvin. Unfortunately, just didn't have any time off after our 2-week excursion through Europe.
Yeah, but the wedding was really fun. One of the things I was telling you about the speeches is her sisters did speeches. And one of the things that stuck with me that are just so true about Lindsay is when you leave a conversation or just after spending time with Lindsay, you are going to feel better after an interaction with her. And when they were saying that, I was like, that is so true. She's just such a genuine person, and I just love her. So congrats, Lindsay and Calvin. I'm sad the weekend is over because it was so great celebrating you both. And yeah, happy marriage.
You saying that is so true about Lindsay, and it's such a special thing to have about a person, because I've had friends in the past who, like, you hang out with them and I call them soul suckers. Like, you leave the conversation and you're like, whoa, I feel worse than when I went into this conversation. And with Lindsay, she's very real, but you never feel worse after speaking to her.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah. It's such a special personality trait. Really happy for them, and sad that I wasn't there, but happy that you were able to make the trip. And now I'm really happy that you're home back in Denver for at least the foreseeable future.
We have been traveling so much. I think I'm good on airplanes for the foreseeable future. I do not need to be on airplanes anytime soon, and I hope I'm not.
We have both been like, we got to get out of airports.
Yes.
Because people are acting crazy at airports. Can you just give one example? I just need the story of the man on the airplane.
And as everyone does, because once a airplane lands, everyone is very antsy and just wants to get off. Everyone, obviously.
you were circling up.
Oh, yeah.
In the sky. I was tracking your flight.
Once again, the flight was delayed. We couldn't get off in time because the airplane was over 100 degrees, so they wouldn't let us board, which thank God, because I don't think anyone would want to sit in 100 degrees on an airplane. So we didn't board right away, which means we didn't get up in the air for almost an hour later. Typical. If I leave on time, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not surprised if I get delayed. I just expect it.
It's the world we're living in right now.
We're in the air, and I look at the clock on, because I had the map up because I was reading on the plane, and it was like an hour and 13 minutes left. Next thing, I look up, and it says an hour 54, and I was like, wait. We were supposed to land at 7 p.m. and it got bumped up to, I think it was 8:20. And I was like, what is happening? The pilot did not come on and make an announcement. I just see it on the map. I'm like, this is weird. Usually they say something. And I'm looking on the map, and instead of going directly into Denver, we are going up to Wyoming and just floating. Finally, after a half hour after the time change, they were like, you might have noticed on the map that we're trying to avoid some weather, and we got rerouted along with a bunch of other planes. And I took a screenshot of the map. We were literally just going in circles.
And then figure eights.
Yep. And they were like, we have enough fuel right now, but if the weather doesn't calm down, we might need to divert and go to a different city, which I was like, if this happens, I'm just going to cry. Luckily, after circling for about an hour, we were able to get back in Denver. So I was on the plane far too long. Plane lands. We are not at the gate yet. We are still moving on the ground. And people were sitting in the front, and there were bags all the way in the back because there was not enough overhead space.
Which...
I know.
What are we doing?
A mess.
Like,
a
what
mess.
are the airlines doing?
I don't know.
You know when Group 5 gets on that there is not enough bag space, and you're still letting people come on with their bags and then look around, and then it causes the boarding process to be so much longer. And then if you're sitting in row 23 and you put your bags back at 33, when we're trying to deplane, it's chaos, and it's not going efficiently. And I hate when things are done in a way that does not make sense. Continue.
Yeah. So this man gets up out of his seat as the plane's still moving, and everyone knows you have to wait until the seatbelt sign comes off and we are at the gate. He is walking. This man is older and not very stable. He's a larger man. He should not be standing when the plane is moving, first of all. The flight attendants come on the speaker and say, everyone, please go back to your seats. We are not at the gate yet. He continues to make his way to the back of the plane.
He's like, surely they're not talking about me.
Right. Continues to do it. They come off again. Everyone, please go back to your seats. You cannot be in the aisle right now. We are not at the gate yet. Still coming to the back of the plane. His bag was in my row, which I was pretty far back in 27. So he decides to plop a squat on people's armrests because he's a large man. So he's not fitting, like if he were to sit down, he's not going to sit on the floor in the aisle.
Even if you're a small man, you can't sit in someone else's seat.
In the middle of the aisle. I look back, and the guy was like mortified that there was a guy in the aisle seat, and he just looked at the man like, what are you doing? And the man just thinks it's funny. Flight attendant comes off again. Sir, you cannot just sit in the middle of the aisle. Please go back to your seat. Finally, he gets up and goes back to his seat. Again, this stuff happens all the time. That's the first time I've seen that. But people just act crazy, and I've been on too much public transportation lately, and I need a break.
You also, your biggest pet peeve is when they do finally lift for seatbelts to come off and you can get your bags for people from the back to just run forward and clog the aisles.
Oh my God.
If you want to see Danielle rage, it's that.
Yeah, deplaning is my nightmare.
And I just don't understand because, again, it's like you're making the process slower by you jumping in front.
Yeah. But anyways,
just don't act like an animal, please.
No, not possible. But that was just one of the many things I experienced this past weekend while traveling. This is not a travel podcast, so I will stop. I'm sure we've all felt these pains. But tell us a little bit about your hike over the weekend.
Yeah, I went on a hike this past weekend, went all the way up to Wyoming where you were circling. And it was about a 3-hour drive, which I would normally never do, but I literally had nothing else to do on a Saturday and met up with a friend from Run Club. We've talked about her before because she helps run it sometimes. Harold went up hiking with her and her husband, and It was wonderful. It was really beautiful. Wyoming is really beautiful, and it was really beautiful where we went. Since our vacation, I'm like, I need to spend more time in nature. It just makes me feel better, and it always does. We saw a cute little marmot. I don't think I even told you that, and it was like making so much noise, and Scout came, and she was really, really good. She's hit a turning point at 5 years old where she listens and she comes back to me. I had her off leash a couple of times when people weren't around just to let her get her zoomies back, and she always came right back. So yeah, it's really, really nice to have a dog who listens a little bit. It was a great weekend and really just tried to recharge and take care of myself. So all good.
Good. I'm happy to be home with you. Should we get into the highlight reel?
Yes, let's talk about it. Let's get into the WNBA first. We're going to talk about the Minnesota Lynx versus the New York Liberty. The Lynx won this matchup 83-71 this past Sunday. It is Rivals week in the WNBA. And so this was a rematch of the finals, and you'll see a lot of rivalry matchups this week. Some are a little bit forced, and we'll get into that, but some make sense. This one definitely did. The first half of this game, it was very close. At the end of the first half, the Liberty were actually winning 38-36. But then the second half, Minnesota took control. The Liberty had a ton of turnovers this game, and the Minnesota Lynx actually scored 30 points in the third quarter compared to the Liberty's 19.
And you mentioned that this was a rematch of last year's finals. Honestly, very likely that this could be the finals again this year. Obviously, there's so many good teams, you never know. But all things considered, these teams are still at the top of the league. Just a reminder to everyone, the Liberty won it all last year.
Yeah, correct. I was watching and I was like, there's no way the Lynx aren't in the finals.
Yeah, they've been playing really well. And now they have Dejanay Carrington, and they're just putting pieces together.
For sure. But they also don't have Napheesa Collier right now.
True. She's hurt. Yeah.
And they still play great. The Liberty don't have Breanna Stewart right now, and you can tell that it's hurting them. Natasha Cloud was actually the high scorer for the Liberty with 14 points. I love Natasha Cloud, but that's never really a good sign when Natasha Cloud is the one scoring the most points on the team. She's a point guard, so point guards usually distribute, and she does an amazing job at that, but like other people on the team were not scoring. I also, to just talk about how much I love Natasha Cloud a little bit more. So Natasha Cloud got teed up in the fourth quarter for chirping at the ref for not getting a foul call that she wanted. She went up for a layup. It wasn't a foul, but she wanted the foul call. And so I'm sure when anyone gets teed up, it's not just that one thing. It's a buildup of a lot of things. And so she gets teed up by the one ref for chirping. And I guess she just figures, hey, I'm already teed up. So she goes up to the one other ref, chirps in their face, and then goes up to the other ref. Like every ref got their time for her to just talk to them. And I just love her so much because although she's angry, she has this way of still being charming where she's not going to get teed up again. She's just going to talk. And it was amazing. But the Liberty do end up losing. The Lynx were led by Kayla McBride, who had 18 points. And I also want to call out another person I love. Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo were covering this game, and I love their dynamic. But Ryan Rucco is just such an ally.
Yeah, he's the best.
If I were to think about who I would love to have on this podcast, like him and Sarah Spain, who also covers women's sports, like the way that they speak about women's sports and the way that they are such allies to the players, I just think is amazing. But Ryan Rucco repeatedly brought up the stud buds, which I just thought was so cool because it's just like such a crazy time where, you know, things in our culture feel like we're regressing. And then at the same time, it's like, but the WNBA is saying stud buds repeatedly. And that's just very cool. And then was also talking about how Natasha Cloud and Izzy Harrison, who also plays for the Liberty, are dating. And it's like, that would not happen 10 years ago.
Yep.
It does make a difference to the people watching just to normalize that a little bit more. So anyway, I love him. Lynx take this game 83-71. They pull away and are just dominant.
Yeah, they're going to be scary, especially when Napheesa is back, and really curious to see what they continue to do. Next game we'll cover is the LA Sparks versus my Seattle Storm, who did not win this game, sadly. The Sparks won 94-91. Not only was this a close game, but a very high-scoring game. The Storm were up 26-14 after the first quarter, but Los Angeles Sparks were able to close the gap in the second quarter, and then at halftime they were up 46-40. So this was really a close game throughout. And then the whole second half, it was back and forth, and neither team led by more than 8. So this was really, what do you call it, a chess match? Like, it was back and forth. No one could really get ahead by much.
For sure. And in creating this podcast and taking our notes, I was like, we're just going to talk about the Lynx and the Liberty. And then I was watching this game this past weekend, and I was like, well, we have to talk about this.
Yeah. So with 2 minutes, 52 seconds left, Seattle was up 87-80, and it pains me that they lost this lead and couldn't keep it up. But for LA, Dearica Hamby scored 7 of the final 9 points, and she also had the winning 3-point play with 5.6 seconds left. Good for her, but not good for me because I am a Storm fan.
Dearica Hamby is so underrated. On top of that, she's very quiet. I was listening to Sue Bird's podcast, Bird's Eye View, and they interviewed Dearica, and we've met Dearica. Yeah. She's very soft-spoken, and I was actually like, hold on, Sue, you have to stop this interview and tell her to speak up. She is so soft-spoken. And it was so interesting because in this game, she had some great defensive plays. She played great on offense, and she was screaming into the crowd. And I was like, you never see this side of Dearica. So very happy for her.
And Kelsey Plum had 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists, which is a huge game for her. She made 2 crucial free throws at the end of the game as well to help secure this win. And then we talked about last week that Cameron Brink is back. She scored a season high of 14 points off the bench and also had 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and an assist in just 11 minutes of play.
That's the amazing part to me. 11 minutes of play, and she was able to make that impact. She shot 5 of 6 overall, and she took 2 3-pointers and made them both.
Wow.
The announcers were saying that in pregame warm-up, she was taking threes, and one of the announcers was like, I don't think she missed one today.
Wow.
So she is locked in. And I also just want to point out Cam Brink's growth over the years. When she played at Stanford, I believe she was a sophomore or freshman. We were watching, and I'm going to be very honest, she was dirty. She was a dirty player. She was doing fouls that were borderline flagrant. And I remember watching her and being like, I do not like Cam Brink at all. And my position on her has totally changed from when I saw her playing as a young player at Stanford to even just her senior year. She totally changed. She did foul out of her last game, which is very Cam Brink. But in this game, I was like, wow, to see her growth and the way that the players on her team just respond so well to her, and it looks like she really makes connections with other people. On top of that, she had a hard foul. I think it was against Brittany Sykes, and she went over to Brittany Sykes and picked her up. Like that, that is not the Cam Brink of early college days. And so I do always have to remember when we're watching kids in college, they are still very much kids and they're learning. And so to see someone evolve like that is just really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And just cool to see her back from her ACL injury and playing really well. So hope she continues to do that. And then you mentioned Brittany Sykes. As a reminder to those listening, she recently got traded from the Washington Mystics to the Seattle Storm. She actually led the Seattle Storm in this game with 27 points, 4 steals, 3 assists, and 1 rebound. So that's a huge game for her.
She has the longest arms of any human I've ever seen.
She does.
Like,
she has
in
a very
proportion
big,
to her body.
Her wingspan is huge.
She had a block. I love Brittany Sykes so much. I think this trade to Seattle was part of her doing. From what she's posted on social media, she's like, it's so nice to be able to take control of your destiny. And I'm really, really happy for her because now she's in a position of real playoff contention and with a team that I think just she vibes with really well. And I think she operated great under the Washington Mystics. She found ways to score her points, but to be on a team that hopefully is a contender is really cool. I do have to say the Seattle Storm is now on a 5-game losing streak.
That's brutal.
But that does mean they need a win. And we're going to talk about what we're looking forward to. And they're going to play the Atlanta Dream soon. So
we'll remind people of that.
We'll see what happens.
But another notable contributor for the Seattle Storm, rookie Dominique Malanga, had 20 points, 10 rebounds off the bench. She's been getting more and more confident as the season continues to go on. And yeah, I really just hope Seattle Storm can turn this losing streak around. They have such good players. They just need to piece things together together and obviously keep a lead if they have it. So we'll see what happens in games to come.
For sure. And one more thing about Don Malanga, her footwork. I'm like, wow, she's got to just piece one more thing together. Again, she's only 19 years old.
So young.
She's going to be scary.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, let's get into the NWSL. The rivalry continues because the Portland Thorns, who were ranked number 6, took on the Seattle Reign, who were ranked number 5 in the NWSL. This is the Cascadia rivalry. We talked about the Cascadia rivalry a ton back in episode 67. In the last time they met, the Reign actually won. This time, the Portland Thorns won, but go back to episode 67 if you want to hear about the history of that. Did you have a strong rivalry in high school and or college?
Of course. College, we had multiple. I will say the biggest local school rivalry, they weren't in our conference, but because we were so close, I went to Moravian College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, now Moravian University. Whenever we played Muhlenberg, it was a huge deal, which our brother-in-law went to Muhlenberg, so we always talk about that rivalry. He played soccer there. But in conference rivalry, I used to hate Scranton. They were our big rivalry. Yeah.
I've done a lot of fuck the mules chants, even as a person who met you after college.
Yep, I have programmed you the right way. What about you? Who was your biggest rival?
Ooh, in high school, it was Waldwick High School. They were a tiny little town. I also grew up in a very tiny little town. What actually should have happened is that the two schools should have combined to make a regional high school, and it would have had
still tinier than my high school.
It would have had 150 kids in the graduating class, but we hated them so much. I remember playing them in soccer, and you're going to be able to tell this because I talk about this when I talk about lacrosse. They had the pretty girls, and they were very... in my impression, they were very stuck up and they were really good at soccer. They killed us in soccer. And then in basketball, we usually had the upper hand. And then in softball, it was a toss up each year. We would get really angry with them. We all one night peed on the soccer field that they play at. It is disgusting. I hope the statute of limitations is passed on that. So that was our rivalry. And then at South Carolina, obviously our rivalry is Clemson, but they didn't have a softball team when I was there, which I was thinking about. I was like, we're going to tell our kids one day and be like, yeah, some colleges just didn't have a women's sport, which is just so wild. Now they do, and they actually are pretty good. But South Carolina softball, when I was there, was really bad. So we couldn't really have a rivalry because we were just losing a lot. That's rough. So let's get into this game just a little bit more. The Seattle Reign scored in the 3rd minute of this match. It was at Portland with a goal from 19-year-old Emery Adames. Jess Fishlock, who plays for the Seattle Reign, just shot through this amazing ball, and Emery Adames was able to close it. And I was like, uh-oh, Seattle's coming out strong in the 3rd minute. But the Portland Thorns respond in the 18-minute. Raylan Turner went down in the box. It was a foul in the box. And then Sam Coffey took the penalty kick and scored to tie it up 1-1. And then Portland put themselves ahead in the 26th minute when again, Raylan Turner, who was creating a ton for them, scored. That was how the first half ended, 2-1. We head into the second half and Portland scored again in the 55th minute with a goal from Reina Reyes. And Olivia Moultrie, who plays for the Portland Thorns, set up a ball that was so perfect for Reina Reyes. So Olivia Moultrie had the ball. She moved her body to the left the ball where it was, and the defender went with her. And then she came back to the ball. It was so sick. And perfectly served it for them to go up 3-1. However, Seattle responded with a sick header from Jess Fishlock in the 64th minute to make it 3-2. And I was like, uh-oh, we're going to have a game here.
Yeah.
1 minute later, seconds later, Portland scores again with a goal from Pietra Torden in the 65th minute to make it 4-2. 6 goals scored in this game. That's how it would end, where Portland wins 4-2. Mia Fishel, who now plays for the Seattle Reign, made her first appearance with the team in the 67th minute. She played for Chelsea in the Women's Super League across the pond. She tore her ACL in February of 2024 while practicing with the U.S. national team, which is just horrible. But now she is playing with the Seattle Reign and hoping to get some more minutes with them because she wasn't getting as many minutes with Chelsea. She wasn't able to make a scoring impact in this game, but really glad to see her playing back in the U.S. The Portland Thorns stay unbeaten at home for the season, which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
And then this win for Portland jumped them into the 5 spot and then Seattle into the 6 spot. So that's always nice too in your rivalry to bump someone down and you move up so they switch places in this match.
That's awesome. All right. We are going to pause for a quick ad for ourselves. Please rate and subscribe to our podcast. We truly love putting the podcast together and want to continue to do it. We create, produce, and edit the podcast ourselves. And all the support you can give us is very helpful. It helps other people find us on all the listening platforms. If you give us a positive review, we would also really appreciate that. But if you rate us 5 stars and send it our way, send us a screenshot, you can get a Women's Sports Weekly sticker in the mail. We will send it to you. And another thing that would be super helpful is if you have a women's sports fan in your life that is not already listening to us, please share the podcast with them. That would really mean a lot to us. We really love our listeners, so thank you to everyone who has been listening. Welcome to our new listeners. And thank you to everyone who has rated us already or given a positive review. We just really appreciate our listeners. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're being really nice to our listeners, but now I'm going to be a little bit mean.
Oh boy, here we go.
We have more listeners than we have reviews and likes and ratings.
And follows?
Yes. I mean,
yeah,
yes.
You got to follow us too. Hit that follow button.
For sure. And I would really love if we could get our percentages up. Lots of you listen, and so many of you have rated and subscribed, and we appreciate that. But for those of you who are listening right now and are feeling a little bit sweaty and a little bit guilty because you haven't done it yet, please go and do it right this second. It means so much to small podcasts like us, because when we reach out to sponsors, when we reach out to teams to say, hey, can we come to a game? Can we interview a player? We have to provide them with stats. And if we don't have a lot of ratings, if we don't have a lot of subscribers, they're not going to do that. I haven't even told you this. We just got an email back from a WNBA team and they were like, sorry, you're not big enough. So please, it means so much so that we can go and we can interview people. It just means the world. So please go ahead and do that. And that's it. I'm going to guilt you all into doing it. Let's get into our deep dive for this week.
And speaking of listeners, we do have some new listeners and we haven't done a get to know you in a while. So that's what inspired this deep dive.
Yes. What also inspired this deep dive is that there is someone on social media who does like, how well do you know your professional husband? How well do you know your professional wife? How well do you know your D1 boyfriend, girlfriend? And so we're going to play that game.
All right, let's do it.
How well do you know your podcast co-host and wife? Are you nervous?
No. Are you nervous?
No.
Okay, let's see.
I'm hoping to get all of them right.
Same.
Okay, so I'll start here. I'm going to ask you 5 questions,
okay,
and we'll see how well you know your podcast.
And we did not do we did not talk about this before. We did not do any checks with these questions. So this is truly just how well do we know each other?
Yes.
All right.
First question. What were my high school and college mascots?
Easy. Midland Park Panthers.
Yep.
And South Carolina Gamecocks.
Oh, yes. That was an easy one. I gave you an easy one to start.
That was easy. That was a meatball.
Okay. What is my undergraduate degree in and what is my graduate degree in?
Public health.
Public health for both. That was a trick question. Good job. I am a public health girly. If you want to talk about public health, please, we can nerd out together.
How is that a trick question? You don't think I knew that?
I don't know. I thought maybe I could trip you up. When I was a kid, what did I want to be when I grew up?
This one's a little harder. What did you want to be?
I'll accept 2 answers.
Is professional athlete one of them?
No.
What did you want to be when you grew up? Let me think about this. I actually can't remember. A doctor? Oh, no. I do know. It's a lawyer.
A lawyer. So
okay, sorry. That took me a second.
Both would have been right because when I was younger, my mom always told me you should be a lawyer.
Yes,
you should
that's
do
what
that.
I was thinking.
And so that stuck with me for a little bit. And then I did when I was really young. I wanted to be a vet, which is interesting because I wasn't around animals a lot as a kid.
A vet? I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But you got it right. All right. Fourth question. You're doing great. If I could play any professional sport, what would it be? And this is not based on any actual ability.
I think basketball.
No.
Really?
Do you want to try again? Listen, I would play any professional sport and I would love to be in the team environment in basketball. So I get where you're coming from, but it's more of an individual sport.
Oh, tennis.
Tennis.
Yeah.
Tennis would have been.
Okay.
Tennis would have been it. But
All right, I'm not doing as well as I thought I would.
okay. And the last question. This is a tough one, so I'm giving you options. What is one of my professional goals that I've shared with you before? Is it A, to make $500,000 in a year, B, to host a TED Talk, or C, to interview Serena Williams?
TED Talk.
TED Talk. You're
You
right.
always talk about doing a TED Talk.
I know I threw in the money there though, because I was like, Danielle knows that one of my goals in life is to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe she'll choose that. But yeah, I do want to host a TED Talk. However, TED Talks are kind of out. I haven't seen a ton of them anymore. So may need to refine those goals. But for a while, I was like, my goal in life is to just do a TED Talk on something that I'm super passionate about.
All right. That was harder than I thought it would be. I think didn't do super well.
No, you were 4 for 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just took me a second for some of them.
Yes. All right. Let's get into your questions. Okay. Now I'm nervous.
All right. First one. What was the first concert I've ever attended and how old was I?
Okay. So the first concert you attended was Cher with your mom. How old were you?
That's a tough one. It's kind of a bonus.
I'm going to say you were between 10 and 12. So I'm going to split the difference.
What grade? Because I actually don't know what age I was. Like, what grade was I in?
Were you like in 4th or 5th grade?
4th grade.
Okay. 4th grade.
At least that's what I remember.
What do you remember about the concert?
It's hard. I feel like I could picture it, but I just know my mom is obsessed with Cher and it was just like a big deal to her and I went. So it's a fun fact. And what inspired this question is this weekend at Lindsay's wedding, our friend Carrie Ann likes to perform Cher at weddings. So she had a wig and people were calling her Sherry Ann instead of Carrie Ann. So she performed Believe at the wedding and I was like, ooh, time to bring up this question again.
That is really good, Sherry Ann. Oh, man. Okay.
All right. Second question. If I didn't play basketball in college, what sport would have I played?
It's got to be soccer.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Basketball has always been my favorite sport, but I was a goalie in soccer and I don't know. I think I could have done well as a goalie. So that would have been my second option for sport.
I was a little nervous because I know you had a lot of fun with the softball team, but I know that your ability was probably more leaning towards soccer.
Yep. All right. When I was a kid, what did I want to be when I grew up? And I put in parentheses in this question, besides a WNBA player, I would have loved to be a WNBA player. But what was it that I wanted to be?
It has to be vet.
Yes. Which I was surprised when you said vet because I didn't know that.
I know.
I thought I wanted to be a vet, and then one of our dogs growing up had this infection on her stomach, and I can't deal with like blood and cuts. I was just so grossed out by it, and my mom was so excited when she thought I was going to be a vet, and she knew in that moment I would never be a vet because my stomach couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my being a vet was just like, that's what little kids want to be. I don't know. I didn't have any basis for it. I didn't have pets growing up. My mom famously hates animals.
Yeah.
So,
all right, 2 more. What were the names, speaking of dogs growing up, what were the names of my 2 yellow labs growing up?
I know you think I don't know this, but I do.
You do?
Yeah. Coco and Kahlua.
Wow. Good job.
I think I've got...
You're doing really well.
I know. And I'm really proud of myself. And your family has historically a ton of animals.
Yeah. So I'm surprised you knew those names.
And they all have really cute names. Munchkin, Coconut, Arizona, Zoe. Those were the dogs when I first got in.
All right.
The cat names.
Yeah, I can't
There's
even
too many.
remember them all. All right, last one. How many varsity letters did I have in high school for sports?
This is hard. Okay. I don't think you played... Oh, shoot. I know you played varsity basketball your freshman year. I'm looking at you to see if... I know you didn't play varsity softball your freshman year. And I'm torn if you played varsity soccer your freshman year. I think you may have gotten pulled up, but I don't know if you actually got a varsity letter for it.
What's your final answer?
So I have to think this through. So I'm going to say 1 varsity letter your freshman year. And then I'm going to say 3 your sophomore, which would bring us to 4. 3 your junior, which would bring us to 7. And then 3 your senior, which would bring us to 10. So I'm going to say 10 varsity letters.
I'm really disappointed in you for this one. I started as the soccer goalie all 4 years. I started as a freshman. I beat out the senior goalie that year and started from day one.
Okay, sorry.
So was not brought up. I, myself, and one other girl were the only 2 freshmen who made varsity.
Got it.
So
it's 11?
Yes. 11. Softball is what I got pulled up in at the end of the year, but I didn't play, so it wasn't enough to get me a varsity letter. And then sophomore through senior year, I started for softball. Okay. So I had 11. But soccer and basketball, I started from day one.
I'm sorry.
So that's offensive. And Carolyn, the reason you should know this is because you were a year older than me, and my freshman year is when we lost to you in the counties and I was the goalie.
Oh, okay. Yes. So my small town did beat Danielle's.
And it was in golden goal. Mm-hmm. And the freshman on your team scored, and I remember the chants. It still haunts me. She's a freshman. And I just remember thinking in my head, so am I. And I was just so mad that we lost that game. So Carolyn and I
did not
definitely
know each other.
Played each other more than that game, but that's the game that sticks in both our memories. So we definitely high-fived in high school, and we had no idea. I don't remember you at all.
Yeah, likewise. And I played defense, and you were in goal. So we really were not.
And we were not in the same conference, so it's not like we played each other often. It just happened to be a county game. But yeah, we have crossed paths, and I'm sure that was just once of many times growing up.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we both got one wrong.
Yes. All right. Not too bad, though.
Yeah, that was pretty good. If you have questions for us that you want to send in, please send them in, and we'll ask each other. Do you know how many varsity letters I had?
12.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't normally beat Danielle in athletic feats, but that's one I'll take. But I did go to a much smaller school, so we rarely had a JV team at all because it was so small.
12 is 12.
All right, let's get into what we're looking forward to this week. Danielle, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I'll stick with the WNBA. The Seattle Storm is playing the Atlanta Dream at 10 p.m. Eastern. Woof, that's late. Today, August 13th on ESPN. So a few things about this matchup. In the series, they are 1-1.
Yep.
Also, I am a Seattle Storm fan. Carolyn is the Atlanta Dream fan, and we have a bet. So if Seattle Storm wins this series, Carolyn needs to cook me a 5-course meal.
No, 3. Oh my gosh. 3 courses.
3-course meal.
Jeez. Wow.
And for our listeners, I do all the cooking in this household. Mm-hmm. Carolyn does not. So I want someone to cook for me.
Yeah. And keep an eye on Danielle because she's just upping the amount of courses.
And if the Atlanta Dream win, Carolyn wants me to do a TikTok video, which I don't know of what yet, but to be determined.
I'll pick something.
All right. So to be continued. These two teams also play again on Friday, August 15th at 10 p.m. Eastern on Ion and League Pass. We should know the winner by our next recording, but it could be 2-2.
Ooh, we didn't talk about what would happen if it's a tiebreaker.
All right, we'll have to think about it, but I don't think anything could happen if it's a tiebreaker.
Oh, we can do something.
Maybe we have to cook together something special and we both have to do a TikTok dance.
Ooh, okay. I think our listeners would like that.
All right, so that's what I'm proposing. But anyways,
I also want to point out that we mentioned before that it's rivalry week, and I don't think of Atlanta and Seattle as rivals, but I do think that the WNBA is keyed in and knows that we have this bet going, and so they put this during rivalry week. So thank you, WNBA, for being such big Women's Sports Weekly fans.
What are you looking forward to this week?
Let's take it to the NWSL. The Orlando Pride take on the KC Current on Saturday, August 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS and Paramount Plus. The KC Current are at the top of the table with 39 points, and Orlando is at the number 2 spot with 27 points. So that's kind of a large gap, but 3 points for Orlando while the KC Current get none would be huge to close that gap. It's at Kansas City, so that's a hard place to play, but the NWSL keeps rocking on. That's it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports and share the podcast with your friends. Rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.